We are on. We are on. Awesome. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of On the Couch with My Food Religion. Today, I'm talking to the founder of the Primal Alternative. So I'm going to tell you guys all about what that is really soon. But firstly, what did you have for breakfast?
Well, Shan, hi. Thanks for having me on the couch with My Food Religion, first of all. It's so cool to be here because you have got the coolest community, Shan. I love your people. They're so nice. You know, you've shared a few things of, my food products and stuff over the last few months. And every time you share something, I get like a whole little flurry of new little followers and little love hearts and stuff. So thank you. And if you're one of those, I
love sharing like-minded brands and just brands that I think are really great with people. And I think I do have a beautiful community, but they also, I think, know that I'm really authentic about things that I share. And if I don't think something's great, I'll say it's not great. So when I do think something's great, people will generally kind of go, cool, okay, maybe that's worth trying. If it feels like it fits with them.
Yeah, you've done all the hard work and the legwork for people, which is great. But back to your question, what did I have for breakfast? Well, this morning I had a Primal Alternative, of course, bagel, which is a low-carb bagel. They're a little bit smaller than normal bagels purely because, grain-free food's so nutrient-dense. Like if you had a bagel that big, you would be like so full. So they're a little bit smaller, but just as more tasty and toasted with a little bit of scrambled eggs and an almond milk flat white.
Yum. That sounds delicious. I didn't even know you did bagels. Is this like fat and bagel?
Yeah, it's super streamlined, which is great if you want to have a sustainable business and you don't want to burn out. So it's just the fat and seedy bread mix. But instead of pouring it in our bread tins, we just pour it into donut tins, essentially. Yeah. And clever.
Perfect. Amazing. So can you please tell us a little bit about who you are and where did Primal Alternative come from?
Sure, love to. Well, I am from the UK, as you can tell by this weird accent. And I live on the south coast of Western Australia, which is about 6 hours south of Perth, so like remote, and love it. We live on 100 acres of wilderness. We don't even get phone reception here, which is great. It's great when you've got red hot Wi-Fi and no phone signal. It's like the best situation in the world. And I created Primal Alternative 6-7 years ago. Gosh, the time just creeps on, doesn't it? Predominantly because I had a health crisis. I thought I was the only person in the world going through this hideous experience, but now I've found a whole gang of people who also have gone through the same experience. So I'm not that special. But at that time, I really thought I was dying of some hideous disease because I felt so shitty. I couldn't poo, couldn't sleep. I was that really tired but wired feeling. And and I had two little kids at the time, and when I'd finally get them settled down and into bed, I'd jump into bed and just be like, my eyes were wide open. I'd be singing some hideous kids theme tune to, Giggle and Hoot or something in my head. It was like torture. And so, I had a heap of depression, a lot of anxiety. I didn't go anywhere for 10 years, didn't get on a plane. I developed a phobia of flying, developed a phobia around the kids getting sick. And when I say a phobia, I mean obsessed about the kids getting sick. And nobody wants their kids to get gastro or anything like that. But because my a sort of underlying chronic feeling was of chronic nausea, so I just felt sick all the time. I had it even makes me anxious now. I think, I used to worry so much about them getting sick because I didn't know how I was going to cope with it. It was a really, really shitty situation. My husband was really worried about me. I went to the doctor. I had a million tests. There was nothing wrong with me. I might have a little bit of IBS, but there was no drug for that, And
IBS is basically just them saying, I don't know what's wrong with you. We'll call it irritable syndrome. No fucking shit, Sherlock. I know my bowel is irritable. That is not
Yeah, it's really not happy. Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
I know. It's so funny. And, and irritable bowel syndrome isn't a thing. It's just a name of a cluster of, ailments.
That's all it is. It's when they can't say, oh, sorry, I don't fucking know. They go, oh, I gotcha. Irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah. And they were like, I love my doctor. She's really great. But she was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. There's nothing really wrong with you. But you're probably depressed. So, here's some anti-nausea tablets. Here's a specialist appointment with a psychiatrist. But there was nothing like mentally wrong with me apart from the fact that I felt like crap. And it was like one of my friends mentioned to me, you might have a gluten intolerance or you might have a wheat intolerance. So I was like, well, what have I got to lose? I'll just try going gluten-free. And I remember when it was, I went gluten-free on Good Friday, like just before Easter, like just before the biggest gluten fest in the world ever of hot cross buns and Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I'm going to give it a crack. And I'm like, type A, jump in, 2 feet, boom, let's do it. And I just went to the supermarkets and just bought gluten-free everything. And it tasted like shit. It was like pure cardboard. It was revolting. And I was like, oh, you're kidding. This is really depressing. And then just, once you start Googling gluten-free, it's not you're like only one step away from paleo grain-free. Yeah. So I thought I'd give that a nudge. I'll give that a nudge for a few weeks until I feel better. And then I'll go back to Helga's bread because that's healthy, right? And joke. Don't eat that shit. And then I said to my husband, come on, we're all doing this together. And he said, well, we're not doing it without cookies. So I started to make, I would love baking anyway. I'm always in the kitchen. So I just started to make some alternatives to the foods that we just couldn't live without, like cookies and pizzas and breads and stuff like that. And then, I healed. I became feeling so much better. Got into that transcendence spot like you did too, Shan, where you're like, oh my God, I want to help everybody else who feels like this. So you start a blog, and I qualified as a health coach, and just found that making food for people was so much easier than getting them to do it themselves, because there's kind of like two people out there. There can be Fs and there can't be Fs, right? Yeah. And well, they're the F word, but I know you do. But it can be. You can say it for me. But and so this was, for those people who couldn't be F'd, but they knew they felt so much better when they ate this way, but they didn't have the inclination to spend all the time in the kitchen coming up with new recipes. And that's fine. They're out doing other things in the world that I can't be F'd to do. And that's great. And we've all got our different ways of contributing, right? But I could make some food for these people who wanted to stay on track but couldn't be F'd and didn't want to miss out on pizza and bread. And so the brand was born.
It's amazing. So how long did it take of you going gluten-free before you really noticed a difference in how you felt?
Well, look, to be honest, it was like within the first 5 days, Shan. So if anybody has done it or embarked on it, you need to really be aware that there's usually a pretty horrible detox. And it really depends on how shitty you were feeling before. And I was really chronically bad. So I quit gluten, and then my body was like, hallelujah, was trying to detox my body of all of the shit, which felt worse. Like my head was banging. I felt more nauseous than ever. Couldn't get off the toilet. It was just horrendous. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Maybe I should go back to eating gluten again. It's so horrible. But after about 5 days, the way I describe it, and you'll probably totally relate, it was like this veil was lifted. It's like, all the colors were brighter. The music sounded better. The food tasted better. I didn't feel sick anymore. And the nausea kind of came and went for about 6 weeks. And it was like a kind of reminder, like if I'd worked too hard or I hadn't had enough sleep or, that kind of thing, I'd get nausea. I'm like, oh no, I've pushed it too hard, it's back, But then after about 6 weeks, it went and it never freaking came back.
So have you ever been diagnosed as celiac?
No. And I went to have the blood test, but they said, oh, you've got to eat bread for 2 weeks. And I was like, no freaking way. I'm not going back to feeling like that. So I don't think I am celiac because I have been, glutened a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a really adverse reaction. So I think it's just a personal preference and a sensitivity as opposed to celiac.
Yes, yeah, non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which I think a lot of people probably suffer from. And to be honest, you're probably not going to get a diagnosis of that, really. You would either go through the process of having a celiac test and they go, you're not celiac, so don't worry about it. They're not going to go, oh, okay, well, you're not celiac, but gluten makes you feel real shit, so maybe you have that gluten sensitivity. They're probably just going to go, no, you're fine, just off you go.
Yeah, and I didn't want those pipes stuck down my throat and up my bum either.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't that just the perfect intuitive eating, really? You've worked out what makes you feel good. You know what doesn't make you feel good. So do you need a diagnosis or a label to tell you what you really already know?
No, I do not. I'm happy just to go. I'm happy to pretend, act like a celiac, but like last night we got pizza. So our local pizza shop, it's the best pizza shop. It's such a cool pizza shop. It's like gourmet pizza. It's not like one of the chains. And he buys Primal Alternative paleo pizza bases. It's so cool. So I can go and get a pizza. The whole family orders what they want, and I can order what I want on one of my bases. And he cooks it in the proper pizza oven, and it tastes so good. So there's definitely cross contamination, obviously, in a pizza shop. No problems at all. Luckily.
And it could just be a tolerance level too, like you build up, your body gets that threshold and it's like, okay, enough. Right. So I think for a lot of people, I get like that with dairy. I'm okay every now and again. I can have a little bit of cheese on a platter or a little bit of cheese on a pizza, or I could have a little bit of something on a meal that we go out to. But it's like my body gets to a threshold and then all of a sudden it's like, no more, we're done here. And I'll get bloated.
Same.
I'll either get constipated or I'll get diarrhea. My skin will break out. Like, it's just really hectic. But it's like Russian roulette. Like, I never know what I'm going to get. Like, I could be like, I haven't had months. I could totally have some cheese platter. No, actually you can't. Today, my body says no. And again, it probably have I been sleeping well? Have I been training too much or not enough? Or am I stressed? Or what's the rest of my diet been actually looking like? Has it been like I haven't been eating enough food, or I've just been eating too many sweet treats? Or, I think it's just a case of where's your body at that point in time.
Yeah, so true. And so the same here. It's almost like it's a cumulative effect, isn't it? Like you can pile so many things on and then it's just like, no. And I get the same. Like, dairy for me is constipation. That's what was constipating me, was the 2 skinny flat whites that I was drinking a day pre going primal. That was what was making me not go to the toilet. And then you've just got this whole like hideous recirculating of hormones that you're meant to be getting rid of. And it was just a real toxic soup. It's disgusting.
And gluten and dairy actually, in terms of their protein molecules, look really similar in your body as well. So there's actually a lot of cross-reactivity. So a lot of people who don't tolerate gluten also don't tolerate and don't often make that connection. Either like they'll cut out gluten, but they won't cut out dairy. And they're like, why aren't I feeling great? And often it can be both of those things at once, which I think is really hard for some people to take. Like, it's one thing to take away their bread, but take away their cheese? Come on.
I know.
Like, I'll eat the cheese without the crackers, but just let me have the cheese.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's nothing on the platter for you apart from a few olives.
Olives and carrot sticks, enjoy that.
Yeah, lovely.
So first you started off making food and things for other people. Now, was that just in your local area?
Yeah, so I did it. I don't have a background in catering. I'm not a chef. I'm certainly, not a food person. no hospitality background. I just like baking, and I like making food. Like, food's my love language. Like, I just love feeding people. So so I just started making food, and I had this real like imposter syndrome, Shan. I was like, like what I said before, who am I to sell food? What do I know about food? Apart from how to make it really yummy. So I just was hiding behind Facebook, and I was like in the buy and sell groups and saying, I'm making a little bit of bread. Who wants it? And it was a local farmer actually who said to me, look, all of this backwards and forwards on Facebook, there's a lot of to and fro in to get one sale. Why don't you have a stall at the market? And I was like, me at the market? I'm not worthy, but I did. And it was amazing because you actually could meet your customers and they would tell you. You think everyone's going to say, you can't do this. Who do you think you are? But they didn't. They were like, oh, my goodness, this is amazing. This is life-changing. This is the difference between me being able to stay, grain-free or not. And they were telling me about how, one of the mums, it was a real story that stood out, had a son who was autistic and real like sensory issues with food, and he loved the fruit toast, and he waited every Friday afternoon for mum to come back from the markets with this love for fruit toast. You just have all those feelings of like, oh my God, not only am I helping myself out and my family, but making a difference for other families too, and coming home with $500 in my back pocket for doing it. It was freaking incredible. So it wasn't long before word got out to, different health food shops. Massimo's Pizza that I was talking about before approached me and said, hey, we've heard about your amazing paleo breads, cookies, pizzas. Can we stock them in our shop? And so it wasn't long before I had like 5 or 6 stockists, did the farmer's market, and also did, still a little bit on social media, maybe like do a few drop-offs on the way to the market for people who couldn't get to the market, like at the high school and the primary school and teachers and stuff like that. So it was going amazing. And meanwhile, my health, it's just like an upward trajectory, isn't it? When you start nailing the food and then you get better at you drinking water and you sleep and your nature and your workout and all of it, you're just like, it just goes up like this, right? And so I was really starting to feel so much more like a clear channel for what I was meant to be doing on this planet. Whereas before I was just this like in survival mode. What the hell do I need to do just to get the laundry done and the dinner cooked? That was about the extent of my ambition at that point in my life. But then when you start to have all this energy, mental clarity, you start to think what else is possible. So I just kind of had this like, it's like kind of like a download from the universe to share what I was doing with other people, because I know there's so many people, right? Because I used to work in recruitment before I became a mum, and I'd see so many women who wanted to have their own business that was from home. They didn't want to go out and work, 9 to 5, put on a stupid suit and high heels and all that, work for the man. They wanted to do something for them from home that could fit around the kids. But there's nothing out there, right, that's got 10 weeks annual leave that you can work from 9:30 till 2:30, right? So I just thought, why don't I just kind of like package what I've learned and sell it as like a model or a license or a business in a box, and they can take what I've learned and start doing it in their town. Because I was getting, emails from, due to social media, I was getting emails from Queensland, Victoria, Northern Territory, Tasmania, America, saying, where can I buy this product? Can you post it to me? And because it's fresh and no preservatives or additives, if I was going to post it from here to you, Shan, it'd be opening up a box of mold, So it seemed like a really cool way to get the product out there without a factory, because there's a real, like, it's not spoken about much, but factory produced food, I don't know, it's got a different energy to it than a home cooked meal. And everyone I've ever said that to goes, yeah, like homemade with love, handmade. It's got a different vibe to it. And I really knew that I didn't want to stack them high and sell them cheap. I wanted this to be, an artisan, handcrafted, homemade. Yeah. So that's what I did. And that was, I created the license on Boxing Day 2016. So we're just into year 5. And since then, it's like nearly 190 people have bought one of my licenses and started their own Primal Alternative business in their town. It's amazing.
That is amazing. Okay, so what does that look like? How does somebody go about that? And is there restrictions on, there's somebody in the next suburb to me who has a Primalista license, so I can have one, can't have one? What's the
Great question. Shan, that's a great question. And that's one I get asked. That's probably like the number one question I get asked. So there's no territory in terms of like geographical for primalistas. And the one reason really is, how the hell do you carve up Australia, right? And say, right, this is Shan's patch, this is Gina's patch, when Shan might only want to bake one morning a week. I can't say, right, the whole of the next 50 kilometers surrounding your house, you have to fill all orders, all stockists in that area, because that might not be how you want to create this business for you, right? So you do have territory on your stockists and your markets. So if you got 2 or 3 stockists nearby in a farmer's market, if somebody joined who lived next door to you, they couldn't come on board and go in those stockists and say, hey, I'll sell you a loaf of bread 50 cents cheaper, because that's shit. And we all have it's a collaborative community. So we all charge the same price. We're all like on the same team. And the thing that every primalista says to me when they jump on and have a call with me is like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, right? That's the vibe, as opposed to that kind of patriarchal sales rep territory. Like, nah, we've transcended that and we're working collaboratively. And when you think about all the cafes, independent grocers, farmers markets, restaurants, pizza places, health food shops, social media groups that you're in, like the stockist potential is huge. So there's enough for everyone.
And it really depends on how much you want to do as well. Like exactly like you said, some people might just want to, they've got 2 free days a week and they're going to be their baking days, and they're happy to just supply via their social media community and call it done. And then there might be other people who want to do it every single day and make it their full-time job and want to, rain terror all over everybody. And that's amazing as well.
Yeah. That's it. I've got people doing this on a full-time basis, supporting their family. And then I've got women who work full-time and, they've got a very successful corporate career, 6-figure salary, but they just want to help other people. It's like part of what they want to do. Like they give contribution, they're giving back to the community. So they bake 1 day a week every 2 or 3 weeks. And all they do is just put it out on their social media, text message a few friends, and they get a huge amount of orders through to do it that way. So it's just whatever, we kind of have this misconception. I did a video on this yesterday, Shan, that we've got this misconception that to be successful, we've got to like push and work hard and 5 days a week and 8 hours a day and be the best and smash the goals. And actually we don't that nobody wants to do that anymore. We've probably all been burnt out at some point. What we want really is just to get really clear on what our aims and purpose are, what your goal is, what your why is. Why do you want to do this? Be realistic. How much time a week have you got to do it? Brilliant. Well, then just work around that and have really good boundaries around your time, because the thing that I see with most primalistas is oversupply. They've got so many orders and they don't have enough hours in the day to fulfill them. So it's really important to say, right, these are my 2 days. And when I get full, it's like, I'm sorry, but I can't stock your shop.
Yeah. So can you give us a rundown of the product? So once people purchase a business from you, their business in a box, they get all the packaging, branding, recipes, all that sort of stuff, everything they need to do to start.
Correct. Yeah. So it's really simple. It's a really super simple business model. So if you think about like ye olde cottage industry, little nanas making jams and cakes and stuff, low risk, not potentially hazardous foods from home. So that's what this model is, based around that old style of industry. Really simple, making food from home for the community, right? So when you become a Primalista, you get the recipes, obviously, and videos from me, how to do them. The recipes are super simple, right? They have to be. Otherwise, I'd have to be like hiring chefs and artisan bakers to do it. But they're not. Like, they're so up your street, Shan, because they're just, you chuck everything in your Thermomix or your whatever mixer you're using. You put everything in one bowl. You mix it for half a minute. You pour it in a tin. You put it in the oven. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just like so simple. So that's really good because you can really crank through, if you get an order for 20, 40, 60 loaves, you can really crank through them. It's not a case of 2 loaves in the oven at a time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then on the resources page, you get access to everything, that you may want to know. So how to set up a market stall, how to get stockists to pay you, how to approach a stockist and get a sale, all the pricings on there, plus links for all of your suppliers, where to get your packaging. So we use compostable cellulose, which is a huge brand value, no plastic. And you'll also get links through to where to get your almond meal from. And you order all of that directly, because it would be ridiculous having like double postage, me getting everything, then sending it again. So you get it locally. So we keep the food miles down. And that's essentially it. And there's a beautiful Primalista community. It is seriously the backbone of every Primalista's business, to be in a pretty much a mastermind of other Primalistas who are, creating a business, got the same values as you. They get it, not just when it comes to food, but they get it when it comes to your business. So, like if you want to celebrate, oh my God, it's amazing, I got my, kitchen approved from council, or I got a new stockist, or I got this amazing feedback from this, customer, or oh my God, my food religion has shared our hot cross buns, it's so exciting. So, I could say that, oh my God, my food religion's done this really cool video of on like high speed of making our hot cross buns. It's so cool. And it's had like 1,000 views. Oh, it's excited, right? And my kids would be like that. Yeah, right. That's good, Mum. What's for tea? Right? Whereas these guys get it. And that community, well, how important is that when you're a solopreneur, to have somebody who understands what it is you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the products, because I've tried quite a few of them. We're actually doing pizza night tonight. Didn't have any pizzas because I didn't have the forethought to think I need to get some pizza bases. But I'm going to have to stock up, I think, and fill the fridge, because we do Friday night pizza and movie night. So
yeah, so easy.
I know, so easy. But I had to pre-make these pizza bases. They're like a paleo, and they are really good. I really enjoy them. But to be honest, I'd rather have some in the freezer that I could just pull out that were already made.
Yep. Me too.
You've got 2 types of pizza bases. You've got your paleo ones and your keto ones.
Yeah. So when I first started the range, it was 5 products, right? So I started off with the fruit toast, and then we've got a paleo bread, which used to be seasonal. So because we use veggies in there, so it would be like a winter and a summer bread. But customers, they like something and they want it all year round. So we had to change that to pumpkin bread and zucchini bread. And I had the pizzas and the chocolate chip cookies, right? So all paleo, not necessarily low carb, right? And then the low carb thing happened, and people were coming up to my stall and they were picking up loaves of bread and going, too many carbs. And I thought, get lost, Barbara. You can't. Who cares? It's only 11 grams of carbs in like the zucchini bread compared to what's in a Helga's bread. It's still good. And then I realized actually what I needed to do was to make a low carb bread. And that's what the beauty is with this size of a business. You can move with the trends overnight. We can come up with a new recipe, get the labels done, launch really, really quickly. So using that zucchini bread mix, I created a fat and seedy bread, which essentially is the same recipe. I just took out the starch, put some seeds in. And it's the same with the pizzas. So there's the pizza bases, took the starch out of that, put seeds in for the fat and seedy pizzas. And then we've got a triple choc keto cookie, very different recipe to the choc chip one, because you cannot make a crunchy cookie if you don't have sugar or starch. So it was a bit tricky, but I got there in the end. And then we've also got wraps, hemp wraps, which are amazing. We're having those tonight for fajitas, which is just another wicked Friday night kind of vibe, isn't it? You know, just get the chicken and the capsicum on the barbecue, bring it in. Everybody's, you know, getting stuck in bowls of cheese, bowls of lettuce, sour cream. Oh, mwah, glass of wine, heaven. Have I missed something? Oh, granola. We've got a granola as well. Because I was looking at getting some other products on my online store, and I was looking at some other keto and paleo granolas. And I've always wanted to steer clear of the granola market because it's so saturated, right? There's 1,000,001 different paleo mueslis out there, right? And then I realized that we've got all of the ingredients for a granola, so it would just be like so silly not to make one. So I made a no-nut hemp granola. So like, because you know quite a lot of paleo mueslis, it's like just a bowl of nuts. And you're like, just chewing through.
Yeah.
Not good. So I was like, let's have a one without nuts, because not everybody wants that many nuts in their life. And then we could do different things like nut-free muesli bars to go into school, and honey joys with the, you know, oh my goodness, so many things you can do with that. So we've got the granolas as well, and we've also got packet mixes. So if you did want to still have that baking experience and make your own pizzas, you can. You just get the mix and you just add your wet ingredients, and super easy to do too.
Yeah, that's cool. So one thing that I always get questions about, and I love it when people do this. I really don't love it. But baking is not something that you can just pour shit in a bowl laxy-daisy and hope for the best, because it's fucking baking. Like you need something to bind, to rise. You need things in there that are going to do the job. So when you send me an email and say, well, I made your apple and cinnamon muffins, but I substituted the almond meal for this, and I didn't add the baking powder because I don't really like it. And then I didn't add any sweetener, and I also didn't add eggs because I can't have eggs, and they didn't work.
No shit, Barbara.
That's my problem. Why? Mate, you didn't follow the fucking recipe. I don't understand why you're telling me about it. This is not.
Oh, you're funny.
So baking is really, it can be really, really tricky. And I love that you guys have got super simple recipes, but I'm sure there has been some baking disasters or some product disasters or things that you're like, oh, I'm totally going to do this. And then you've made it and you're like, oh, wow, no, we're totally not going to do that.
Oh my God, Shan, like seriously, I'm not joking when I say it looks so easy, right? It looks so easy on that end. You know, it's like that tip of the iceberg thing, but you see success. They just see that little bit of tip of the iceberg. You don't see all the other shit that goes on before it pops out at that tip, right? Right. Yeah. So every single recipe has been a shit fight to get it so easy. And so, you know, it's almost foolproof. Like there are a couple of recipes, like the triple choc keto cookies and the fat and seedy pizzas would probably be the two that you'd have to, you know, play with a couple of times to nail it, because they're a little bit weird, because baking is a science. It's chemistry. You've got to have the certain components working. And when you're trying to do it with no carbs, no starch, no sugar, no xanthan gum and no yeast and all of that crap, it can be tricky. So I'm not joking, thank God we've got chickens. So many failed food. And I'm working with expensive ingredients, Shan. Almond meal, free-range eggs. You're throwing the shit down the chuck pen, like, oh, I'm going to make this. It's going to be so easy. And you just get this inspiration. You're in the kitchen. It's going to be amazing. And it just turns out like a brick, or it explodes all over the oven, or it's not easy, but that's why it's so good. That's why I love sharing the finished thing. Like, just, you know what? Yes, you could reinvent the wheel and come up. You know, there's a gazillion the recipes are no big deal, right? There's a gazillion recipes on the web. You could just pick some of those and create your own business, right? But what you'll get it wrong. The other thing that we always get wrong in business in general is the pricing.
Yeah.
Right? We always think, oh, well, I love doing it. And, you know, if you love doing it, then you shouldn't really have to charge for it. And, when I first started selling the bread, I was thinking, oh, how much will I sell this for? And I thought, $7 a loaf sounds good. And then I sold out. I was like, oh, it's so exciting. I sold out and stayed proud. And my husband said, well, how much did it cost to make a loaf? I went, oh, I don't know. And he goes, well, you need to work that out because, if you're going to keep on doing this, you don't want to be out of pocket. And Shan, when I worked it out, I had sold it for less than cost. So it had cost me money to sell. And I was like, oh, and so you think, oh, $16.50, shit, that's a lot of money for a loaf of bread. But when you realize that the ingredients alone is like $7, and then it's got your time, I see so many primalistas that would love to charge less than that. And they'd love it for the first 3 months, and then they'd be so pissed off and resentful because they weren't making any money, So that's another, failure story that we can laugh at now. But it's protecting other women coming into business now because the pricing is set. You have to stick to the pricing, which in essence just protects your business, and so that you're not ripping yourself off and cutting yourself short.
And I think the people that you're attracting is not the people who want to buy a $2 loaf of bread from the servo on the way home. It's a completely different demographic who appreciate quality over quantity. And like the loaf of bread that I had from you guys, it lasted, I kept it in the freezer. So I sliced it up, popped it in the freezer, and it probably lasted 2 weeks because I don't eat it every single day. It's there for those days where G wants to have a piece of French toast, or she wants to have a bacon and eggs on toast, or I feel like having some avocado on toast. It's not going to make up the staple of my life. I'm not going to have toast for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, some toast again for afternoon tea. It's something that, yes, I appreciate that it is of a premium cost. Also, there's no way in the world that you would be able to knock over 4 slices of like fat and seedy like you would normally.
No way. You wouldn't be able to eat for a month.
So I think the satiety there that comes with that too. But it's even I could eat the whole packet of cookies because they're delicious. But also, I appreciate the quality too. So I appreciate that this is a premium product, and I could go and buy some shitty cookies from Woolies and eat the whole packet. It probably cost me 37 cents. But feel shitty. The ingredients are shitty. I'm probably, off my face on sugar by the end of it. And they're definitely nowhere near as satiating as something like one of those beautiful Primal Alternative cookies that, have that almond meal. They feel more satiating as well. And they just feel a bit more nourishing, like you're actually doing something good for your body instead of giving it shit.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And, it really is the question I always ask if people question the price. I say, at what cost? What's the cost? There's a cost down the line. Like you say, you can pay less and get your shitty packet of cookies from the supermarket and feel dreadful, be on a sugar high, and, I don't know, all the other, the ripple effect of those food choices. But this is a food, and quite a lot of, potential primalistas say to me, oh, this is a really it's a product that's only for the rich, it's a high socioeconomic demographic. And it's actually not true. This food is not around how rich you are. It's around your values around food. So when I'd be at the Friday night market, which was at the Steiner School, heaps of Steiner mums, single mums, getting benefit from Centrelink, absolutely right on them as well, but they value Steiner education and they value paleo grain-free healthy food. So they'd be there picking up their pizza bases, their bottle of organic red wine, and their grass-fed meat and spray-free veggies, and that's them. And it really is about where your values are, and if you're spending your money, where you spend any money, let's just say, without being too judgy. And so we're not there for those people. We're not there to petition the people who are, buying the Tip Top white bread or the Helga's bread. We used to knock off 4 loaves of that a week in exactly the way that you're saying, Shan. Some for breakfast, some for lunch, snacks after dinner, and then a bit of pasta and stuff in between, and cereal and all of the rest of it. Complete garbage, felt like shit. Whereas now it's mostly meat and veg. that we're eating. Most days I'm having, you know, like some salmon and some salad for lunch, and dinner is, you know, meat and veg. But then there's other days you're just like, oh my God, I just want sardines on toast,
Yeah.
or I just want bagel and scrambled eggs like today. And on a cookie as well, you know, like I used to love a Tim Tam. I used to have 2 Tim Tams every night, and obviously can't do that anymore. So the chocolate chip cookies, not every night, but some nights I'm like, damn it, I'm having a cookie. And just one. So they've got like a 1 teaspoon of sugar per cookie, which is just enough to not really tip your blood sugar too much. But because it's got the good fats in from the almond meal and the organic butter, like I never feel like, oh, I've had something sweet. You know, you just feel like, that hit the spot.
Absolutely.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. So good. So if someone wants to get involved in the Primalista program, or even if they're just a little Primalista curious, how do they go about a little bit more about it, and if it's something that's going to fit their lifestyle? And then after that, before I forget, I always, time I try one of your products and I share it, people are like, where can I get it? I'm like, mate, I'm not the brand. I don't know who you are.
Sorry, Shan.
Sandra, I don't know. I said, can you just ask the brand? So if people, have you got stockists on your website where people can see who their nearest person is and how to contact them?
Yeah, look, sure do. So there's 3 different ways to buy. So we'll look at that one first, and all on the Primal Alternative website. So it's just primalalternative.com. So if you go there, that's like everywhere. You can find everything in there. So you can get it from, we've got an online shop. So you can order it through the online shop, and then the order gets sent to your nearest Primalista. So it's going to be fresh. It's going to be baked for you, and it's going to be express posted to your house or hand delivered if you're near enough to the Primalista. You can also find your nearest Primalista and order direct from her. She'll love that. So, or he, we do have one guy, Jim, in Victoria. Love Jim. He's great. So you can contact your Primalista direct and put an order in directly from them, or you can check our stockist list. We've got, I think, over 365 stockists across the world, so you can see who your nearest stockist is. I would always recommend calling ahead of time to make sure, because not every stockist, we've got a big range, right?
Yeah.
Not every stockist carries the whole range. Oh my God, you know what? I've totally forgotten to mention that we do pastry. Oh, sorry, Joe. We do Joe Witten from Quirky Cooking's grain-free pastry and sweet potato pastry. And I don't know if you've tried that one yet, Shan, but I've always got a stash of that in the freezer. It's great if you want to whip up a quiche. You just roll it out, quiche base, pies, sausage rolls, naan bread, pizza base. Have you tried it yet?
No, because you know what? I think I saw you post something about it and I was like, oh, pastry. I've been searching high and low for gluten-free pastry, and the only one I can find, felt one. It's not gluten-free, but it's the best I could find. And then I was like, oh, actually, Mum has that Joe Witten Life Changing Cookbook, and I said, Mum, I need the pastry recipes. She's like, oh, there's a few in there anyway. So she sent me the screenshots of the recipes, and I was like, oh, okay.
Boil the potatoes. No, too faffy. Who can be bothered?
It looked really faffy to me, and I was like, this would have to be like a kid-free day where I was just really feeling the baking. I thought, too hard. So now
too hard. Buy some from a Primalista, and they make it and freeze it. So and you can get postage. You can thaw. It can refreeze. It is so freaking versatile and awesome, and it is without a doubt the faffiest Primal Alternative recipe, but worth it. And there's some Primalistas that are just like, no, that pastry is too faffy. I'm not making it, and they don't have to. You don't have to make the whole of the range. So that's another product that we have, and I'm going to write that down. You can try that too.
Take my money.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. So to answer your
this is great. Right, I'm done. Excited.
You're done. You're sorted. You're going to love it. So I'll answer your first question, which is what do you do? Like if you're listening to this going, oh my God, this is the thing I didn't know I was looking for, right? Because I don't think there's another one. I've been Googling. I think I'm going to start saying the world's best baking license, because I don't think there is another. I don't think there's another baking license in the world. There's different licenses, right? Different business licenses to do, Zumba or Les Mills or whatever else is a licensed, brand like that. But this is really unique. So if you might not have even knew that you could do something like this, right? So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's amazing, then the next step is to book a call with me. So I'd speak to every single person that wants to be a Primal Alternative producer because, one, I need to make sure it's right for you. So we'll check out, how much time you've got to do this. If there's enough potential stockists in your area, you were saying before about territory. What if there's someone down the road? We'll make sure there's enough places for you that haven't been approached. And also just to work out how much money you want to make sure that based on your stockists and your time, that it's going to be worth your while. And also just to double check, because this is, a brand and every person that comes into Primal Alternative affects all of the other producers. Just need to make sure that everyone's a good fit for the brand too, to do their brand justice, So it's a half an hour call. We meet on Zoom, dead informal, as you can see. I'm pretty relaxed and good fun. And then, that's it really. But if you want to go and read about it or watch videos about it, you can check out primalalternative.com/license and everything's on there.
Cool. That is awesome. That is so exciting. Fabulous. Yeah. Well, we will definitely, I'll definitely put all those links below as well so people can just click straight through and go and check it out. People can also get hold of you on Instagram at Primal Alternative. Yeah.
Follow me there.
Yeah, you guys are on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Primal Alternative, it's just the same everywhere. So it's dead easy to find. And, if you order something and you want to share it on social media, tag me in so I can see what you've ordered. And if you liked it, that's always good fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so nice for people to see that there is a face behind a small business. And there is actually a person doing a happy dance that you have tried their product and you love it. And you liked it enough to want to share it with other people. Because that's you could ever ask for, isn't it? Is that someone actually tries your product and likes it enough to want to tell other people, hey, you should try this. It's really good.
It's the best. I'm always so grateful. We get tagged in heaps now, which is so cool. And I love every single one, It's like, yay. And the different places, like, wow, where is this person in the world? And they've come across Primal Alternative. And it's the biggest buzz. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Oh, just how much I love you, Shan. You're a legend. Thank you for having me on the couch. It's so cool.
You're more than welcome. It has been an absolute pleasure. So everybody, I'll pop all the links below that you need. If you do have any questions, feel free to holler to me, or you can find Helen over on Primal Alternative. And we'll catch you guys next time.